And coming up this morning, Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Edugitamaklo, describes Court of Appeals acquittal of Dr. Atuforsin and Richard Jatpa as one that reposes confidence in the judiciary.
I am surprised that he's still holding the office of the Attorney General. If he has the any scintilla of honor left in him, he should be resigning.
Also coming up, Parliament directs government to pay 61,000 customers of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management.
The committee finds itself bound to accept assertion by government that it has failed or refused to pay the customers of the defunct Gold Coast Management of Black Hills.
Still in this edition, private legal practitioner Starr urges majority caucus to follow procedures in Parliament after the vetting of two Supreme Court Justice nominees were rescheduled following allegations of attempts to blindside the minority.
The majority should consider the processes. Let's follow the procedure. Parliament enact law, and Parliament always insists on compliance.
We have details coming up shortly, but first, let's remind you of our affiliate stations across the country.
Starr News is coming to you live on Ultimate 106.9 FM in Kumasi, Empire 102.7 FM in Takrady, Zeps 95.9 FM in Zebila, Nissim 100.1 FM in Lamshao, My Star Radio in the USA, also live on Facebook on Starr 103.5 FM and on starfm.com.gh around the world. This is Starr 103.5 FM. Starr News. Informed, in-depth, in touch.
Many thanks to you for choosing Starr News. We begin this morning. The Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Edugitamaklo, has described the Court of Appeals acquittal of Dr. Atuforsin and Richard Jatpa as one that reposes confidence in the judiciary. He has also repeated calls for the resignation of the Attorney General. The pair were accused of causing financial loss of 2.37 million euros to the state in a deal to purchase 200 ambulances for the state between 2014 and 2016. But in a 2-1 decision, the court said the two have no case to answer and therefore stepped aside an earlier decision of the High Court for the case to proceed. Although Attorney General Godfred Yeboah-Dame says he believes the decision impedes the fight against corruption and indicates he will file for a reversal of the decision, Edugitamaklo says they are unperturbed.
How do you take this Attorney General serious? This is an Attorney General who goes to the point of conspiring, causing an accused person to implicate a fellow accused person, and you want to take him serious? It is rather his conduct that is inimical to the practice of law and the legal profession in this country. Grateful. I am surprised that he is still holding the office of the Attorney General. If he has the any scintilla of honor left in him, he should be resigning. This Attorney General is a regime Attorney General. He's not an Attorney General of the Republic of Ghana. He shouldn't bring himself. He shouldn't. What the judges have done is to restore public confidence in the work of the court, more than everything that he has done as an Attorney General of this Republic.
You heard Director of Legal Affairs of the NDC, Godwin Edugitamaklo. Now, away from that, Parliament has directed government to pay locked-up funds of defunct Gold Coast Fund Management. The directive is contained in the report of the Special Ad Hoc Committee set up to investigate a petition by the customers. Chairman of the committee, Joe Garte, in presenting the report, advised government to ensure such financial institutions ensure their businesses so the state is not always called upon in such times.
Mr. Speaker, the evidence before the committee is that government made payments to affected customers of fund managers who had undergone official litigation. Government also paid on humanitarian grounds an amount of 50,000 cedis to all affected persons, including companies such as Black Hills, who were still contesting the official liquidation in court. Since government avenged that it has settled all claims of fund managers which are under official liquidation, and the committee has no evidence to the contrary, the committee finds itself bound to accept assertion by government that it has failed or refused to pay the customers of the defunct Gold Coast Management of Black Hills because the matter of the official liquidation Inspector of Black Shield is still alive in court. With those few words, I pray that the House adopt the report of your special committee, which was established by this House to investigate and establish what has accounted for government's failure to pay customers, numbering over 61,000 of Black Shield's Capital Limited, hereto known as Gold Coast Fund Management Limited.
In reaction, MP4 Odododiodo Ni Lanti Vanderpoy questioned the figures put out by government as cause of the financial sector cleanup. According to him, aside the 25 billion cedis put out by government, the customers are owed about 9 billion, making the figure above 34 billion cedis.
Mr. Speaker, we think that we've already taken a step as a state, as a government, to bring relief to these people, and it would be appropriate that the 61,000 people left should also be given relief in one way or the other. But Mr. Speaker, let me take the opportunity to also say something very revealing came out, and I think as a house we must talk about it. We were in this house when the former Minister of Finance, told all of us that they are done with the banking sector cleanup, and it has cost the state 25 billion. Considering the fact that these 61,000 customers are yet to be paid, if you calculate, and according to them and their petitioner, they are owed close to almost about 9 billion. Wow. If you add that to the 25 billion that the Minister of Finance indicated to us that we spent on the banking sector cleanup, it means that we are going towards 34 billion in that exercise. And that is something that we need to look at.
Now, still on this matter, MP for Asawasi Mohammed Muntaka Mubarak questioned the rationale behind the collapse of the banks instead of offering the institutions a bailout.
Mr. Speaker, the starting which all of us sometimes find very difficult to speak about is the excessive politicization of almost everything that we do in this country. People get banking licenses to operate banks because they belong to Party A or Party B. People get licenses to operate farm management companies because they belong to one side or the other side. And even when they are in real difficulties and the regulators need to be very strict on them, because of this alignment, they get away with it. And in the long run, they create huge problems. But Mr. Speaker, we need to also learn how has others dealt with such problems. And Speaker, yes, I know United States of America is one of the richest countries in the world. But how did they deal with this in 2009, between 2009 and 2010? They did not go forcing those companies into liquidation. What the United States did, which I thought was a very good model for the whole world to copy, because even in Europe, they tried to copy that, is to rather assist the failing institutions to be able to continue operating so that they hold their assets of the owners and the investors and give it to them as a loan. Instead of quickly running to liquidate those companies, people lose their jobs, people lose their investment, and now you are making it look as if you are now for their Christmas, saying that on humanitarian grounds.
Away from Parliament, a private legal practitioner, Kweku Ansasari, is urging the majority caucus to follow procedures in Parliament after the vetting of two Supreme Court justice nominees was rescheduled following allegations of attempts to blindside the minority. The former director of the Ghana School of Law tells Starr News that any procedural lapse will render the majority's action illegal.
I must say that the majority should consider the processes. Let's follow the procedure. Parliament enacts laws, and Parliament always insists on compliance. Therefore, if the consensus was that the vetting should be done tomorrow, and they did it today, it is irregular and unlawful, and therefore a legal nullity. But the two nominees are persons of substance. In fact, Professor Frimpong, to me personally, is going to be a very, very useful addition to the Supreme Court. He is likely to bring a wealth of scholarship onto the Supreme Court. I'm looking at it from that perspective. Why would the majority try to rush the process through when they know that the nominees are being elevated to the highest court of the land?
You heard private legal practitioner Kwekwanza Starr. Now, before we go, the Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Edochim, says the ministry is tirelessly working towards attaining 90% literacy and numeracy skills through the Community of Excellence initiative. Addressing stakeholders in the education sector on the state of education in Ghana, the minister touted the achievement of the free senior high school policy and outlined future plans in the education sector.
The opportunity that has been presented to us as a nation in the area of free secondary education is an opportunity that should be extended to all. No child should drop out of school at the primary, junior high school level. We will come and find you. We will work with you. We'll work with your parents to make sure you stay in school to be part of the talent pool that this nation needs to transform its fortunes. Literacy, being literate, is a basic requirement. We cannot be counted among the countries with the highest learning poverty. The World Bank tells us that a number of countries in Africa are experiencing a crisis in education. In some countries, as many as 90% of the children aged 10 cannot read for understanding. Learning poverty. It is a scourge that a number of countries are facing. Ghana will flip the coin. Instead of 90% learning poverty, we want to make sure that 90% of our youth are proficient in reading and numeracy by age 10.
You heard the Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Edochim. And that's how we wrap up the breakfast news this morning. When you log on to starfm.com.gh, you'll find more news updates there. I am Nurein Abass. Many thanks for your company. Next on your radio is my colleague Jones Aji with the Sports Rundown. Do have a great day.